Hello, today is January 19, 2025, and this is my last video that I'm going to make. Um, I I feel like this is it, that God is calling me to make one last video. And so, um, just this last video regarding the word that He has given me some weeks ago about our nation and a prayer that we needed to make for the nation, a specific prayer that if you're just now catching this video and you have no idea what I'm talking about, just go back to the first one I ever made, which I believe it's sometime in November. And it's regarding the prayer, specific prayer that we do um, on our bloodline for the country. And so today I'm going to leave you with three passages. And the first two are in Joshua, but the first one is in Joshua 23, verse 15, which I'm going to read. But as surely as the Lord your God has given you the good things He promised, He will also bring disaster on you if you disobey. He will completely wipe you out from this good land He has given you. This word comes to us when Joshua is nearing the end of his life, and he's preparing the Israelites to go on without him. But he is reminding them that the Lord does keep His promises, and as surely as He promises the good things, He also warns us that if we disobey, He's going to destroy. He's going to destroy them. And so He's encouraging them to obey the Lord in order not to be wiped out. And so I feel this in my heart that this is also a message for us, Haitian people, that just as the Lord is a good God, but He's also a God of justice, and that when we do not obey Him, He has to apply justice. And we can pull comparables between us and the Jewish people. Unfortunately, we cannot know the plans of the Lord. We cannot understand why He would choose to do things in such a way. That's God. The Jewish people were free, and then they were slaves, and then they were slaves again, and then they were colonized until they finally became a nation. And so it's always in God's control, even when it looks like it's out of control. It's always in God's control. And so my second passage is in Joshua 24, when at this point they've come to the end of the journey. They're in their land. And in verse 14, Joshua says, "So honor the Lord and serve Him wholeheartedly. Put away forever the idols your ancestors worshipped when they lived beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt. Serve the Lord alone. But if you're unwilling to serve the Lord, then choose today whom you will serve. Would you prefer the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates? Or will it be the gods of the Amorites in whose lands you now live? But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord." And He does give him a choice. He says, you can choose. You can choose the Lord or the God of your ancestors, knowing that previously He also warned them that if you follow the precepts of God, the promises of God follow you. But if you disobey the precepts of God, then he will wipe you out. And that's a message to us today. Which God do we follow? The God of our ancestors or the God of the universe, Yahweh? So that's the second passage. And so now, my last one, we come to 2 Chronicles 30. 2 Chronicles 30. And if you read the whole history between Joshua and Chronicles, you'll see how the Israelites have messed up quite a bit between that time. They actually chose the God of their ancestors and the gods of the Amorites that they were, whose lands they were living in. But Hezekiah, Ezekiel, sorry, no, Hezekiah. Hezekiah came in and made all the reforms, and now he's rededicating the temple. He's like, we need to come back to the Lord. And so he's rededicating the temple, and he's asking the people to purify themselves. And this is the passage that stood out to me in verse 6. O people of Israel, this is the message that Hezekiah sends to all of Judah and Israel. O people of Israel, return to the Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, so that he will return to the few of us who have survived the conquest of the Assyrian kings. Do not be like your ancestors and relatives who abandoned the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and became an object of derision, as you yourselves can see. Do not be stubborn as they were, but submit yourselves to the Lord. Come to his temple, which he has set apart as holy forever. Worship the Lord your God, so that his fierce anger will turn away from you. For if you return to the Lord, your relatives and your children will be treated mercifully by their captors, and they will be able to return to this land. For the Lord your God is gracious and merciful. If you return to him, he will not continue to turn his face from you. So I hear God calling us to to dedicate the nation to him, to dedicate Haiti to him. And so my call today is to pastors and leaders, influencers, to spread your net and to call the people under your leadership, the people under your congregation, to dedicate the country of Haiti to God. And this prayer doesn't have specifics, though we had a prayer that had specific, but this one to dedicate the country to God doesn't have specific words, basically, because I believe in the situation we cannot tell God how to operate, and God is not asking us to tell him how to operate. I think God is leaving that open. And we can dedicate we can dedicate the government to God, and we can dedicate the leaders of the nation in every arena, in every field of leaders of authority. We dedicate them unto the Lord, and we allow God to purify them and do his work in them. In verse 6, the king, we see that he has sent messengers to send the word out to the people. And we're told, not in verse 10, sorry, but most of the people just laughed at the messengers and made fun of them. However, some from Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun humbled themselves and went to Jerusalem. So clearly, this message is not for everyone. There are some who will scoff at it, there are some who will laugh at it, but there are some of us who will humble ourselves and actually lift that prayer up to God. And so I am calling you, if you're like me, to join with me on our knees and dedicate the nation back to God. And I do believe that when we do that, same thing that happened to the Israelites will happen to our nation. Because we're told that as the people humbled themselves, the priests and the Levites, they were ashamed that they didn't do it. And so then they had to come back around and themselves purify um, and do what was right. But it wasn't the priests and the leaders who did that first. It was the lay people, regular folks like you and me. They're the ones who humbled themselves first, and then the leaders and the priest followed. Um, I love that in verse 12, it says, at the same time, God's hand was on the people in the land of Judah, giving them a strong desire to unite in obeying the orders of the king and his officials who were following the word of the Lord. So I do believe that when we do pray, when we consecrate ourselves and dedicate the nation to Haiti, God Himself is going to touch hearts and give us a like-minded heart to obey this order. We know that our people tend to be rebellious. We tend to not come together. We tend to not do what another person said because we just don't want to follow what somebody else has said. Our ego can be so up there sometimes that we undo our own future. We cause our own demise because we have a hard time unifying behind a cause. Not to say that we don't, because when we come together, great things do happen. But we know that us Haitian, we are so prideful. We can be so prideful to the point where we don't come together to work for a cause if we feel like, well, maybe it should have been me. Maybe it should have been someone in my family. Why did God use me to ask for this prayer? I have no idea, but He did. He will use you for a different purpose. He will use you in your community, but don't look at me and say, I don't know who she is. I think I mentioned that in a previous video. Let's work together for the nation. Let's work together for our families, for our children, children's children, who may one day want to find out where they came from, who may one day want to go to Haiti and discover Haiti. And so we want Haiti to be there. We want the nation, the island to still exist for our children to discover their roots. We want the nation to exist right now for the people living there right now. We don't want the Lord to wipe us out from the face of the earth. And so let's dedicate Haiti to God. And I do believe that when we come together in that mindset, I think we'll see heaven move. We'll get to see the hand of God working and doing something that we could have never imagined. And so I pray that you get excited as I am, because I am excited. And let's prepare just as Hezekiah called the people to prepare for celebration. They were celebrating the Passover, which hadn't been done in a while. We don't do the Passover, but we can come together for a holy celebration of the nation. And so I'm ready for that. I'm ready for a holy celebration in the land of Haiti. I hope you are too. All right, so, et voici la partie que je vais faire en français. Je vais peut-être réduire ce que j'ai dit, mais je vais donner l'ensemble en fait de ce que j'essayais de dire. Alors, j'ai parlé de... Alors déjà, je disais que cette vidéo, c'est ma dernière. Je ne ferai plus d'autres vidéos sur le contexte de la prière qu'on faisait pour la nation, pour le pays d'Haïti. Et alors, aujourd'hui, on va regarder 3 passages bibliques. Et le premier est dans Josué 23, verset 15. Alors, je change de Bible, parce que je veux lire le passage en français. Josué 23, verset 15, qui nous dit « Et comme toutes les bonnes paroles de l'Éternel, votre Dieu, vous avez dit, se sont accomplies pour vous, de même l'Éternel accomplira sur vous toutes les paroles mauvaises, jusqu'à ce qu'il vous ait détruit de dessus ce bon pays que l'Éternel votre Dieu vous a donné. Si vous transgressez l'alliance que l'Éternel votre Dieu vous a prescrite, et si vous allez servir d'autres dieux et vous prosterner devant eux, la colère de l'Éternel s'enflammera contre vous et vous périrez promptement dans le bon pays qu'il vous a donné. » Alors là, on se trouve c'est Josué, vous lirez l'histoire, si vous devez sans doute la connaître déjà, qui rappelle aux Israéliens que le Seigneur a accompli et accomplira toutes ses promesses. Il peut détruire et reconstruire le peuple selon son obéissance. Et dans le chapitre 24, 14, verset 14, il leur demande de faire un choix entre les 2 puissances suivantes, Dieu ou les idoles de leurs ancêtres. Et lui, il fait son choix en leur présence, justement, pour signer un peu l'édit qu'il leur donne. Alors, verset 14, où est-ce qu'on en est? Maintenant, craignez l'Éternel et servez-le avec intégrité et fidélité. Faites disparaître les dieux qu'ont servi vos pères de l'autre côté du fleuve et en Égypte, et servez l'Éternel. Et si vous ne trouvez pas bon de servir l'Éternel, choisissez aujourd'hui qui vous voulez servir, ou les dieux que servaient vos pères au-delà du fleuve, ou les dieux des Amoréens dans le pays desquels vous habitez. Et lui, il leur dit, moi et ma maison, nous servirons l'Éternel. Il fait son choix devant eux et il leur demande de choisir. Et le dernier passage qu'on a vu se trouve dans 2 Chroniques, verset 30. 2 Chroniques, verset 30. Pardon. 2 Chroniques, chapitre 30. Tout le chapitre est à lire, mais je veux faire ressortir ces quelques versets. À partir du verset 7. Ah non, pardon, le verset 6, deuxième partie du verset 6. Enfants d'Israël, revenez à l'Éternel, le Dieu d'Abraham, d'Isaac et d'Israël, afin qu'il revienne à vous. Afin qu'il revienne à vous. Reste échappé de la main des rois d'Assyrie. Qu'est-ce qui se passe avec ce passage? Enfin bref. Ne soyez pas comme vos pères et comme vos frères qui ont péché contre l'Éternel, le Dieu de leur père, et qu'il a livré à la désolation, comme vous le voyez. Ne raidissez donc pas votre cou, comme vos pères. Donnez la main à l'Éternel, venez à son sanctuaire qu'il a sanctifié pour toujours, et servez l'Éternel votre Dieu, pour que sa colère ardente se détourne de vous. Si vous revenez à l'Éternel, vos frères et vos fils trouveront miséricorde auprès de ceux qui les ont emmenés captifs, et ils reviendront dans ce pays, car l'Éternel votre Dieu est compatissant et miséricordieux, et il ne détournera pas sa face de vous si vous revenez à lui. Alors, En fait, le Seigneur nous appelle à nous purifier et à consacrer et à lui remettre le pays. Il nous demande de lui consacrer Haïti, de consacrer nos pasteurs, nos leaders, toutes les personnes d'autorité sur toutes les branches du gouvernement, de lui consacrer toutes ces personnes afin que lui puisse purifier. Et là, nous n'avons pas une prière spécifique comme la prière d'avant, parce que je ne pense pas que nous puissions dire à Dieu comment le faire. C'est lui qui sait sur quel point et où aller pour consacrer. Alors en fait, notre prière est juste de remettre le pays à Dieu et de lui consacrer. Ézéchias, dans le verset, lui, il envoie des messagers. Nous sommes les messagers, nous sommes les personnes. Pour nous, tous qui ayons cœur pour la nation, sur nos genoux, prions et Dieu fera le reste. Dans le verset 12, nous lisons que Dieu donna au peuple un même cœur pour obéir. Unissons-nous donc pour que cet ordre règne sur le pays. Le Seigneur fera des merveilles. Mais ça, je le crois de tout mon cœur, que si nous obéissons, le Seigneur va faire des merveilles. Et ça, j'ai vraiment hâte de voir. Que Dieu vous garde.